Welcome to the channel. I'm Ed Gerber. This is our third episode, and today we're talking about economic guidance during uncertain times. It's made possible by the ISA Foundation, so a big thank you to all of you that have contributed to this worthy cause. And for those that are interested, you can check out a list of companies that have contributed by checking out the foundation wall on the ISA website. With the challenges of COVID-19 that we're all facing, we wanted to make this episode, which is in the form of a webinar, free of charge and exclusive to all member companies and their associates. It's our way of helping out. So we hope that everyone is safe and sound and you're practicing social distancing wherever you may be watching today. This webinar is a complement to our suite of analytics, which is made up of three parts: an annual performance and strategy report, a quarterly ISA advisor, and a monthly top-line pulse. They work together as a system and were designed by ISA specifically to meet the needs of our channel and to provide you quick access to the most comprehensive suite of analytics and information to help you navigate your business. Each one has been completely refreshed for 2020. Check out episode 2 to learn more about the ISA Advisor. The annual performance and strategy report and a monthly top-line pulse will launch the week of May 4th and will be featured next on the channel. We plan to layer in webinars like this to make sure you always have the most complete picture surrounding the current events at the time. Future dates of the episodes will be provided at the end of this webinar. Regarding the 7 drivers of success, this episode connects back to analytics, go-to-market strategy, and employee development. To learn more about the 7 drivers of success, check out episode 1. So before we get started, let's review the results of the survey you completed. This will help ground all of us connecting the dots between the sentiment that's out there and what we're about to learn from Alan Beaulieu. To help put context around the results, we had over 250 responses, with the survey being open for 2 weeks, starting April 5th and closing on the 19th. From a profile point of view, all member types are represented, with manufacturers making up half of the responses, followed by distributors at a third, then IMRs and service providers. There's also a good cross-section of revenue size represented, with 100 million or greater coming in at 40%, 25 to 100 million around a third, and below 25 million at 26%. And 94% are designated essential businesses. The sentiment around revenue by month shows that April is expected to have the deepest decline, with a negative 21.5 points versus the same month prior year, but there's optimism around incremental improvement by month going forward. Freezing expenses tops the list for cost control, with the top actions being centered on freezing expenses versus reductions in compensation or headcount. It's worth noting where other ranked on the list, so let's take a quick look at what they are. They ranged from delayed inventory purchases, inventory reductions and returns, to 2-week shutdowns, to rotating staff in 2-week increments to avoid layoffs, to 401k matches that are on hold or eliminated, as well as eliminating overtime, but there's a lot of responses related to the federal payroll protection loan to help offset costs, as well as budget reductions. 94% of respondents now have staff working remotely due to COVID-19. And if we look at March as the baseline, the sentiment is that the effectiveness of these teams will increase steadily to the point where it's greater than what it was prior to COVID-19. This demonstrates, in my opinion, that organizations are adjusting to what could become the new norm. The sentiment around when we will get back to normal run rates varied quite a bit, which makes sense as none of us have experienced anything like this before. We had responses ranging from May of this year all the way to January 2022. But looking at a typical bell curve, the concentration of responses at 37% coalesced around September, October of this year. But it's worth noting that 15% are also looking at Q1 next year before we get back to normal run rates. So the ultimate questions are, when can we expect to be back to normal run rates, and what should we prepare for? So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Brendan Breen, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for ISA. He's our moderator today. So in the meantime, sit back, relax, and enjoy the webinar. Thanks for joining us.